Hey everybody, welcome back to today's video, which I've decided to call making a video about a bunch of random thoughts with less editing because I was away on vacation. Now I only have 2 days to make this entire video. But before we get into that, I have to do something I never thought I'd have to do. I have to apologize. In the last video, I said that Sunrise Paradise was better than the Amazing Digital Circus. And I was wrong. It's actually called Sunset Paradise. I still stand by everything I said in that video. I'm watching the show right now. You know, between that and the Wii U comments, I think this might have been my most controversial video ever. So, show support if you want to see what weird stuff I'm going to say in the Meta Runner video. But I figured, to celebrate just how far this channel has come recently, I would go into a theory that any of you who've seen one of my videos before have heard. The thing I say at the end of every video, Ralsei is Flowey. This is referencing one of my older videos back when Tater looked like this. So you're not allowed to watch it, please do not. Now, this theory is insane. Probably my most insane theory to date. Yes, even more insane than the Kane is a human theory. Which, funny enough, is the first time I used this outro and this new Tater design, so I don't know, I guess it all comes full circle. But without further ado, let's get straight into the theory. Okay. Hi. I've never done a live action... Not live. I've never done a recording like this before for a video, so I hope this works. I tried this little mask thing. If it doesn't work, I'm just gonna edit my face out because I don't know, there's this whole psychology thing with faceless YouTubers. It makes it more enjoyable. The point is, I made the corkboard. We're doing this thing. Oh, come on. My face was cropped out that whole time. Okay, let me figure this out. Sorry, guys. Okay, that should be high enough. Alright, we're doing this thing. So, obviously today we are going to be talking about Undertale / Deltarune. Right off the bat, they're anagrams of each other, so they're similar in some way. Now the main subject of today's video is going to be Ralsei. This guy. He's got some mysteries. I'm going to try and figure them out. So, right at the beginning, we get a little tutorial from Ralsei, all about how the mechanics of Deltarune work. Now, this is introduced when he says this. See that hurt, Chris? That's your soul, the very culmination of your being. Now, for anyone who's played Undertale, this should be really familiar, because that's exactly what Flowey says in the tutorial of Undertale. Now, we know that Ralsei is connected to this quote because he directly says it. This quote is directly connected to Flowey. So right off the bat, there's some very strong similarities between the two characters. Now, Ralsei has a lot of similarities to another character. Asriel. Oh, that's right. Asriel. Now, Asriel is very similar to him for a lot of reasons. For one, their designs are clearly very similar. Additionally, their names are anagrams of each other. So, these two are connected, especially with their names being anagrams of each other, just like Deltarune and Undertale are anagrams of each other. Asriel doesn't even spend most of Undertale as Asriel. He spends most of it as Flowey. Now, Flowey here is the one who has the tutorial at the beginning, and is Asriel. For anyone who doesn't know the story, I'll put a little recap here. This is Asriel. This kid falls into the underground. This was actually the kid from the opening and is a different child from the character that we play as. It's not Frisk, it's someone new. Asriel feels bad for the kid, so he takes him back home, where they raise the child as one of their own. Now, this kid really hates humanity, so they decide to eat a poisonous flower on purpose, die, and then have Asriel absorb their soul to be able to go to the surface and get past the barrier. The barrier is the thing the humans made to keep the monsters underground after they won the war. Once Asriel absorbs the soul, he basically gets superpowers, goes to visit the humans, but he doesn't want to kill them because that would be mean. So they kill him instead. He survives just long enough to get home and crumble on flowers or brings a bouquet of flowers back with him. The important thing is, he dies on this flower, so his essence is in it. And then good old Dr. Alphys injects some determination into it because, well, I don't mean to be mean, but she's kind of stupid. But the thing is, since he was a flower, there was no way for him to have a soul. Ergo, he couldn't feel love and was now evil to everybody. Now we know that Asriel is directly related to Chara, or Kara, or Kara, however you want to pronounce it. So we know that that is a direct correlation. And Ralsei has a direct correlation to Chris, who I'm just now realizing I didn't print out a picture for. Okay. Now Ralsei has a direct relation to Chris. I didn't plan out the strings of this very well, so it's gonna get a little messy here. There we go. They have a direct connection, just like Asriel has a direct connection to Chara, who obviously has a direct connection to Chris. The two of them are the only humans in that scenario. They both get adopted by the Dreamers. They both have the important persons shirt. They have a clear connection. There's also a connection between them and Frisk, but that's a video for a different day. Now, there's obviously a lot of connections here, but more about Asriel. See, when Asriel gets all of the human souls, he can either become Asriel Dreamer, the final boss of the pacifist route. Spoiler warning for that. Or he can become Omega Flowey. This is like the evil version of him. So it's safe to assume that in some way Ralsei is going to be the final boss of Deltarune on most of the endings, which is something to consider. So it seems clear that Ralsei is some sort of mirror world version of Asriel. Now here is where it gets even crazier. I'm proposing that they are not just mirror versions of each other, but they are actually the same character. Allow me to explain. This is a dark fountain, something that is directly from oh, I almost drew on my wall there. We all have to make sacrifices for the greater good. Now, the Dark Fountains are directly linked to Ralsei, because Ralsei was created by a Dark Fountain. Now, what a Dark Fountain does is it takes an inanimate object, like this lamp, for instance, and it turns this inanimate object into something sentient, something with a soul, which is inevitably what it did for Ralsei. So Ralsei is an inanimate object that a Dark Fountain gave a soul. Now, what is an inanimate object? Well, scientific research says that plants, for instance, are most likely not sentient. So a plant would be a non-living creature. That's a little confusing here. There. So a plant is a non-living creature. A plant, like Flowey the flower. Now, Flowey the flower is non-living because he doesn't have a soul. He can't feel emotions. So Flowey / Asriel is soulless. When he gets his soul back, he becomes the final boss character, right? Now, since he's soulless, he is an inanimate object by the standards of Undertale. I am assuming. There's a few assumptions going into this, as you might be able to tell. Now, if he was an inanimate object like Flowey, he could have been in the Dark World and then turned into Ralsei, which means that through the logic of Undertale and Deltarune, it works. Additionally, this would explain a lot of his weird behavior. In Chapter 2, he somehow gets to the library Dark Fountain without any sort of explanation for how. The only way that would make sense is if when he leaves his Dark World and becomes an inanimate object, that inanimate object is something that is able to move, like Flowey. He's an inanimate object, but he is still sentient in a way. Now, all of this seems to be pointing to the fact that Ralsei is Flowey. Now, there are some other logistical issues, like how would Flowey get to the world of Undertale? I'm glad you asked. This is Sans. You know Sans. We all know Sans. Now, Sans appears in Undertale and Deltarune. In Deltarune, he appears owning a shop. This shop is seen in the Light World segment. Sans owns this shop in Deltarune. However, this shop is clearly not just Sans's. He scrubbed out a name here and replaced it with his own. The person who originally owned this shop was Grilby. Now this is from Undertale, meaning that Sans took something from Undertale, brought it to Deltarune, and then is living there. Now, we haven't seen Papyrus yet, and whether or not Papyrus actually exists, or it's just somehow Sans hallucinating him, could dictate whether or not this is the Sans from the end of the Genocide route. He walks off screen and disappears. He could have been escaping to the world of Deltarune, bringing his house, which I didn't print off, bringing his house and Grilby's with him, making a new life for himself, maybe even finding a way to resurrect Papyrus in some way, through timeline shenanigans, and that's why he doesn't let him outside of his house. and why he acts so suspicious around Chris, because they look like Frisk, the one who kind of blah his whole timeline. This would explain how Flowey was able to get into the world of Deltarune. Flowey eventually found a dark world and became Ralsei. And for those of you who believe the whole Ralsei created dark worlds thing, this matches up too. For those of you not familiar with that theory, quick rundown. Basically, the theory finds evidence in the first chapter that kind of proves that it's possible that Ralsei was in his dark world, thought it was nifty, so we decided to make a whole bunch more. Basically copy and pasted a bunch of dark worlds, but inevitably we all know what's gonna happen. The roaring occurs and everything gets kerplat destroyed, which makes him very sad. So it makes sense that for Ralsei to do that, he would have to be someone who had determination, like Flowey. Now, if he was Flowey and had determination, but was now granted with a soul, he'd want to undo all the wrongs he did by bringing his family back. He could do that in the Dark Worlds, but when eventually all that collapsed, now he's the lonely prince. The prince that made himself a prince because he originally was a prince. Prince Asriel of the Underground. He tried to recreate his life and therefore his form. Just a different version. An anagram of his previous self. I think with all this evidence, it's pretty clear to me that... Oh no, what did I do to my pen? No, go back. Oh no. That Ralsei is... This pen is just broken now. What did I do to you? I'm sorry. I ruined my pen. I believe that it's very clear that Ralsei is... Oh, I was gonna do a cool thing where I did like the final mark between the two of the characters, but now I don't have a pen. It's been a very janky video. Sorry. It's very clear to me that Ralsei is Flowey. So, thank you guys for listening to me rant. Please tune in for the next video, and remember, Flowey is Ralsei, Ralsei is Flowey, and this has been Tater Animations trying to do a very unconventional video.
Hey guys, doing a quick end card, as I always do. Don't have much to say, but just once again, thank you guys for the support recently. I don't expect this video to do very well, because it's not very good, but, you know, if you wouldn't mind, you know, liking it to, you know, keep the channel going, that'd be real swell of ya. So, thank you guys for all the support recently. I will be back with more interesting videos later down the line. I just had to get this one out fast, so... Oh, I almost forgot about...